don't assume for the person you're talking to. Now, what does that mean? It means that sometimes we project our own thoughts onto another person. So one apt example might be you see, a pretty girl outside. You're like, I'm not even going to bother her asking whatever, right? Oh, I think you're beautiful. Can I have your number? Can we get a coffee? You prejudge yourself and you assume the answer. Don't do that. And that pretty much goes with everything. Now, obviously, the same caveats have to be said, I guess. As long as you're respectful, you should be fine. That's the idea. But, don't assume that... Well, basically, don't assume the thoughts of the person you're talking to. You're thinking for your conversation partner. Sometimes you can just be, and you can just ask, and you can just exist, because sometimes we are too narrowly focused on our own thoughts that we don't realize, other people have thoughts too. They exist, and they can make their own judgments about everything, right? And usually, they are way more positive than you might think. One thing this sort of goes into is the question, well, how do you get whatever you want? We will have to talk about what you want in another yap over here, because that's a whole different issue to realize what it actually is that you want, because that is also sometimes not quite as obvious as one might want it to be. But let's suppose that you roughly know what you want. Pretty much, there's only one singular thing that you need to do, and that is ask. Now, it's a little bit crazy, because you might say that is definitely not the only thing you need to do. Fair enough, but it does go, and please don't, what would you say? Leave your sort of preconceived notions at the door sometimes, because wisdom can be found in all places. So the saying is, ask and you shall receive, right? So that is a powerful statement, and it makes sense. I saw a great video about this, about asking, by Jim Rohn, and he said, make plans like an adult and believe in them like a child. That's a great way to put it, right? So yeah, the plan should be, I think, reasonable-ish. However, then you need to say, okay, this plan is going to work, and it's going to work if I execute it. And there you go. And that's basically it. So when it comes to asking, this is once again going off of a lecture from Jim Rohn. It was really interesting. The first thing about asking is the beginning of receiving. Absolutely. Because if you don't ask for anything, then how the heck is, anyone should they supposed to know what you want, right? If you say, hey, I would like to have the butter. Literally just go to the most mundane moment that you can imagine. You're sitting at the breakfast table with your family. If you don't ask for the butter, then no one's going to give you the butter. That's just, it's very rare that a person is so in tune with you that they will just give you the butter, right? Maybe they see you, cutting open your bread roll or something like that, and then they're like, hey, do you want the butter? It can happen. It does happen from time to time, but it's not that common, because people are so much in their own universe that they don't realize, well, let's say the wants and or needs of others a lot of the time. That is why ask, right? I think that's very interesting. But yeah, this sort of ties into the ideas of you shouldn't assume what a person is thinking, because people can surprise you. Crazily enough, they can surprise you, and they will surprise you. And yeah, I found that to be a really interesting idea. This assumption that you have, the thoughts that you put into other people, where you're like, oh, they're not gonna like me, or they're gonna think XYZ, or they think I'm weird. Even if, so what? What happens now? Right? It was an interesting idea, because what happened is the first comment, this is actually, I found this kind of hilarious. In the first moment, I was a little bit perturbed, but then I was like, you know what, that is actually kind of hilarious. The first comment I got on the channel was in a short, and it was literally on the short of the secret power of low expectations. I was like, I'm gonna go into this with low expectations. You know, if no one's listening, that's fine. And the comment is, sure, your content sucks. Get a job. That was the first ever comment on the entire channel. I was like, you know what? That is kind of perfection. And I heard the comment and I responded, exactly, you've perfectly grasped the essence of the video. Thank you for the career advice. Obviously, a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but at the end of the day, I feel like that's warranted at that instance, because it's like, I don't even know why you would leave a comment like that, right? I mean, I can't. I mean, I guess I kind of know why, but I always go back to the idea as follows. This sort of fills me, especially in like a long-term view, right? If it's like very fresh, then you can still feel it a little bit, but like in long-term view, it's sort of like, I feel pity almost, because it's a shame that instead of just moving on, you decided to sort of spread your negativity around. Now, maybe that person had a bad day. It's very possible, right? That sometimes happens as well. I've seen this numerous times on my other channel where, you know, someone made a bit of a rude comment and I responded to them in a very normal and like compassionate way, let's say. And then they usually, like, it's very rare, but it's very rare that they don't. They almost always apologize. And they're like, I had a bad day. It's like, listen, man, it's fine. That makes you, in my eyes, if you leave negativity and then someone responds with compassion and then you apologize, that makes you, I think, almost better of a human being than the person who wasn't negative in the first place. That might sound weird, but I think that we're always going to, like, at some point, things are going to be hard and tough and you're going to be, I mean, drawn to a little bit of negativity and you're going to say something that maybe you shouldn't have said. It happens. But if you can apologize, man, that's pretty good. That's pretty freaking good. Yeah, when someone's like being negative towards you, there are some people that are just, you know, like basically the Batman quote, right? Some men just want to watch the world burn. Sure, but it's very rare. It's very rare. Usually, it's just someone who had a bad day. They just, who knows, right? They had to walk home in the rain. It's all sorts of things. It was cold outside. They're freezing. They've forgotten to put something out of the freezer and now they have to, like, I don't know, eat something that they don't want. It could be, or they're hungry, literally, just they're hungry and now they're a little bit hangry, right? Like, this literally could be this, right? So, I don't know. It is just very, very weird and strange. And one thing to always think about when someone is, let's say, not criticizing you, because obviously comment like that is not criticism. That's just, I don't want to call it hate, because hate feels a little bit too strong of a word, but it's definitely not criticism, right? It's just like, I don't know, blind negativity, I guess. One thing to always realize is that for someone to pull you down, they have to be beneath you already. So that's the thing, right? Because like the comment or the quote is like, I don't know, Michael Jordan doesn't leave YouTube comments, right? Because why would he? Michael Jackson also won't leave YouTube comments, but that's for an entirely different reason. No, but you know what the idea is, though? If you're successful, it's very rare that you have to pull others down. Still happens. Don't get me wrong. That still happens. There was a great case about that in the VTubing community recently, where a very popular indie VTuber was basically like behind the scenes sort of puppet mastering, you know, like an artist to not work with other VTubers, which were supposedly her friends. So that was a very interesting one. So yeah, it does happen, but in general, especially openly, right? If they hide behind an anonymity, basically you can always disregard their opinion. If their real name is attached to it, like they have a Twitter profile and their real name is attached to it and where they work, I would take a criticism in a much higher weight, because that just feels better. But yeah, that's sort of the idea for today's yap. And yeah, that's pretty much it. hope to hear you, or I guess hope to, yeah,